I started strength running when I was 27 years old. And in this video, I want to share some reasons why I'm changing my running approach at age 41, and how you can do the same if you're focusing a little bit more on longevity rather than on chasing fast times. Because back in the day, when I was a younger man, that was my obsession. I loved running fast, and I just wanted to be the fastest runner that I could be. That was my singular goal, was PRs. Doesn't matter the distance. I don't care if it was the 400 or the marathon. I loved setting PRs. But some things are different now, and I can't do the same things that I could do when I was 20 or 25 or even 30. So at 41, my running looks a lot different. In this video, I want to share some of the ways in which it looks different. So if you're struggling with your approach to running, now that you are a slightly older runner, hopefully you can learn a little bit of these lessons from my approach and take them with you so that you can keep running sustainably for a really long time. Now, the first thing that I really make sure to do before all of my runs now that I didn't when I was 20 years old is that I try to make sure I start every run well fueled, because that's really going to impact not just my performance, which is of course true, but not the thing I care the most about. It really impacts your recovery. And by fueling really well, even before you start your run, you're jump starting that recovery process. You're not digging yourself into a calorie hole, and it's just a much more enjoyable experience because you're going to feel better. You're going to be less likely to get injured. You know, there's some really good science looking at underfueling and its impact on injuries. So, you know, now as a masters runner, when I'm more likely to get injured because I'm not as strong, I'm not as resilient, I really need to take all of these issues into consideration and hopefully create a program that is very much oriented towards keeping me healthy, making sure my running is sustainable for the long term. And fueling is a huge part of that. Step 2, and you'll notice both of these things occur even before I go running. It's really important to prep yourself before your run. The next thing I'm going to do is a dynamic warm-up. Now, I've been talking about dynamic warm-ups for the entire history of strength running, going back to 2010. So this isn't new for any longtime followers of the YouTube channel or even the strength running podcast. But the reason why I'm doing a dynamic warm-up these days is a little bit different than the reason why I did a dynamic warm-up when I was a younger, more performance-oriented runner. I'm doing it now because I want to increase my strength, my athleticism, my coordination, and my ability to stay healthy. I'm not really doing it to improve my performances, even though you are going to likely perform better after a dynamic warm-up. So now I'm doing all this work because I want to maintain myself as an athlete, not just my running ability. And it would do us all a lot of good if we thought of ourselves as athletes that specialize in running rather than runners. And that just is a subtle mindset shift that helps us understand that we've got to do other kinds of exercise besides running. We need to do some strength training. We need to do these dynamic flexibility movements. They're all going to help us be able to move better, be more athletic in general, and that's really going to help us stay healthy in the long term and maintain optimal movement patterns as we age and get older into our masters and grandmaster years. Now, the other thing I do is I actually take the first mile of my run a lot easier than I used to. This is partly out of necessity, partly because I just don't feel good when I go out a little harder. So by making my first mile my slowest mile, I'm really helping myself negative split my runs, and I'm really making sure too that I'm just actually warmed up to do whatever I'm trying to do, and I'm not trying to run too hard before I've actually properly warmed up and gotten my respiration up, increased blood flow, and just do all the things that, you know, a proper warm-up is going to do.
And so the dynamic warm up and then this first easy mile really helped me just feel good during my run. And that's a big part of making running sustainable for me.
I have upgraded my daily greens mix. You have to try how good Previnex's Gut and Greens Superfoods mix is. It tastes way better than my last greens mix, and I'm so happy to have made the switch. Now, not just because it tastes better, but because it has twice the fiber, it has clinically proven ingredients that help with digestion and gut health, and it actually has fewer ingredients. And this is actually a good thing. My last greens mix had dozens and dozens of greens in it, but in such tiny quantities that you're not getting much out of it. I'd rather focus on quality over quantity. And like everything from Previnex, they have clinically studied ingredients that are going to help with your GI system, your digestion. It's going to reduce inflammation and really help with your gut health. So thank you, Previnex, for using clinically verified ingredients. You got to check out their amazing apple flavor on Previnex.com. And if you want 20% off, use code JASONGREENS. And by the way, for every order, Previnex donates a bottle of multivitamins to kids in need. So thank you, Previnex.
I also really embrace recovery runs, where I used to only have one dedicated recovery run per week, and now I have 2 or 3. And a recovery run is basically just like a very, very easy run. And most of our easy runs are either what you might consider a base run, what you might consider a recovery run. I've replaced some of my base runs with recovery runs. And that's just because I need a little bit of extra recovery when I'm doing long runs and workouts. So instead of, an easy 6 to 9 miles, I might now run a very easy 4 or 5 miles. So it's a little bit shorter and a little bit slower. And it really helps me get ready for those key sessions where I can put in a lot more effort.
Okay, we're back home and I just got finished with a 4-mile run. I did it in 31:59, so just under 8-minute mile pace. I had an average heart rate of 139 beats per minute. So it was a pretty good general zone 2 effort. Definitely a little bit easier at the beginning, a little bit more challenging at the end, although the whole thing was still easy. Not to say it was actually challenging at all at the end, but did have a general nice progression of negative splits there. So I want to show you some things that I do after my run that I didn't necessarily do all the time when I was younger. I didn't take post-run fueling as seriously as I should have when I was a younger athlete. Partly that was just because of the era that we lived in. When I was, in college and training post-collegiately, it was the early to mid aughts, 2002 through 2012. We didn't know as much about fueling as we do today. In fact, I remember bringing a granola bar to practice finally during my senior year of college because I realized I was getting way too hungry between the end of the run and dinner, and I needed to start getting some calories into my system. I don't know why it took me 8 years to realize that, but here we are. So 26 years into my running journey, I've learned a thing or two. We are going to refuel immediately after a run. Now, I like convenience. So one of the things that I do is I make a protein shake. Big thanks to our podcast sponsor, Previnex. They have this amazing product called Nourify Plus that I love because it's super convenient. It's a protein shake, but it also has over 20 grams of carbohydrate. It's basically a multivitamin and it has probiotics as well. So I'm gonna have my protein shake with milk and a little bit of creatine thrown in there, at least 5 grams. And I'm also going to throw in my Joint Health Plus supplement and my Immune Health supplement. Just trying to stay healthy, both from an injury perspective and from a sickness perspective. I've got 3 kids in elementary school and middle school, so I've got to do everything I can to keep me healthy. Now, of course, the real refueling approach involves real food. I'm not just taking a bunch of supplements after my run, although the protein shake is a big part of my post-run fueling. I'm just gonna go have some real food and I'm gonna make a burrito. I'm not gonna show that here on video because this isn't a cooking channel, but I'm gonna have a burrito, and as well, in addition to my protein shake, that is a pretty good post-run meal for me. And then I'll continue to eat according to my hunger later on in the day. All right, the last thing that I'm gonna do is a simple core workout. Now, I really think it's important to cool down from your runs, whether you do a weightlifting workout, a core workout, some mobility work, maybe you do even some, you go for a walk and you do some foam rolling. Something it should be in your program to help you cool down from a run. I really like a post-run core or strength workout just because, yeah, you're helping yourself cool down, but you're also gaining extra strength, you're gaining some coordination and an extra mobility. So now I'm very, very consistent with that kind of work, and it's much more varied. 2 days ago, I did a pretty hard, heavier weightlifting workout. Yesterday, I didn't actually do any strength training. Today, I'm gonna do a 15-minute body weight core workout. You can actually follow along with me if you want to. I'm gonna be doing the standard core routine, which is something that I've been doing since I was in college. Very comprehensive core workout that targets everything from your lower abs to your obliques, your hip flexors, your hips, and even your lower back and glutes. Very comprehensive core workout, really encapsulates the entire trunk area. And the goal here is to get stronger, to be able to withstand the stress and the impact forces of running so that I can feel better when I'm out there running, I can be a little bit more economical, and of course, I can reduce my injury risk. A big part of all the things that we talked about in this video is reducing our injury risk and making running just a little bit more sustainable for the long term. That's a big goal for me as a master's runner now, and strength training is an enormous part of that. I think making things as convenient as possible for you is really important when it comes to strength training. So, I love a 10 or 15 minute body weight core strength workout that you can do at home. I have a home gym in my garage where I can get in a weightlifting workout even if I only have 40 minutes of time. I don't have to worry about commuting to the gym and all of that entails. So prioritize convenience so that you can get in all these things, whether it's that post-run protein smoothie or you're getting in that weightlifting workout in your home gym. Really great ways to make training more sustainable because it's a lot more convenient. Now, this topic of training more sustainably, reducing your injury risk as you get older is a big one. There's no way I could do it justice in this short YouTube video, which is why I've included a lot of resources in the description of this video, from articles, other videos, podcast conversations, and other resources to help you with your training. My goal is to help you become a better runner. Sometimes that means a faster runner. Sometimes that means reducing your injury risk. And sometimes that means making your running more sustainable so that you can do it for decades. I'd love to hear about some of the strategies that you use as well in your training to, make running a little bit more manageable as you start to get older. I think one of the reasons why I like making videos like this is because I was running when I was 14 years old and now I'm 41 and I'm going to keep running for the rest of my life. So comparing and contrasting my teenage running years to running in my 30s with really little kids to now running in my 40s with slightly older kids, I think there's really value to the perspective that comes from that multi-decade journey. And I hope that you're finding a little value in it. If you are, I hope you like the video. Please subscribe to the channel and we can keep running well together for a very long time.